Attorney Jay Arriola is objecting to a pre-sentence investigation report that would have his client, airport business and finance consultant Francisco Santos, pay a heftier fine and possibly spend time in jail. Santos has already pleaded guilty to tax evasion. Now it's just a matter of how much of a fine he'll be ordered to pay and whether he'll go to prison.
After 20 years of failing to pay owed taxes, airport business and financial consultant Francisco Roberto Santos was finally charged in district court with tax evasion. But because of a statute of limitations, he was only charged with 5 years' worth of willful failure to file a tax return. Out of the 5 charges, Santos agreed to plead guilty to 3. Despite overwhelming letters of support from notable members of the community, including some senators, the Attorney General's office has recommended a sentence of 3 years in prison. The prison term is based on a tax liability of $3.8 million, which accounts for all taxes owed, even those he was never charged with, dating back to 1994, plus interest and penalties. Santos' attorney, Jay Arriola, is disagreeing with the AG's recommendation, as well as a pre-sentence investigation report. Arriola argues that the tax law should be calculated based on the charges Santos pleaded guilty to, which was calculated at about $350,000 for all 3 charges. Based on the sentencing guideline range, Arriola believes his client should only be subjected to a maximum statutory fine of $25,000 per count. Santos has already agreed to pay a restitution of $344,000 and prior year's tax liability of $148,000. While he acknowledges that his client could also face up to 3 years in prison, Arriola is again asking that his client not be sentenced to any prison term to allow him to continue to work and pay his fines. In court papers, Arriola writes, quote, "A substantial fine so long as he is able to maintain his employment in lieu and instead of any period of incarceration would be an appropriate sentence." He further writes, quote, "Perhaps most importantly, the need to provide restitution to the government of Guam, that a term of probation which provides the opportunity for the defendant to continue gainful employment and make significant restitution, as well as pay a substantial fine, would adequately and fairly satisfy the sentencing factors."
You can read Attorney Arriola's objection on our website at pacificnewscenter.com.